The journey toward a PhD is not a sprint, it's a marathon of intellectual discovery, persistent effort, and personal growth. Achieving an optimal level of performance isn't about working the most hours, it's about working smarter, maintaining sustainable momentum, and fostering a resilient mindset. It requires a deliberate strategy built around three core pillars: strategic planning and execution, working smarter, cultivating a growth mindset, and prioritizing sustainable well-being. Number 1. Strategic planning and execution, working smarter. High performance in a PhD program stems from clarity and effective management of the immense workload. Treat your research like a high-level project, breaking it down into manageable phases. In my case, each stage of my research, whether conducting frequency response analysis or developing a new hysteresis model, was organized into a clear sequence of hypotheses, experiments, analyses, and reflections. This disciplined approach prevented the work from becoming overwhelming, even when unexpected challenges arose. A. Master the minimum viable product, or MVP approach. Resist the urge for perfection at every stage. Applying the minimum viable product concept, borrowed from the tech world, is crucial for maintaining momentum. During my second PhD project, I initially aimed to produce the perfect hysteresis measurement setup before collecting data. However, I quickly learned that perfectionism could delay progress indefinitely. Instead, I conducted a pilot experiment at the National Physical Laboratory, NPL, with minimal setup under the supervision of experienced engineers. Although the data contained noise, it allowed me to validate key aspects of my physical model. Later, I refined my methods and used cleaner datasets provided by my supervisor to complete the model development. That early, imperfect attempt was not a failure. It was a prototype that clarified the path forward. Similarly, in writing, I applied the same principle. I focused first on completing drafts, imperfect but functional, and only later refined the arguments and presentation. The iterative cycle of writing, feedback, and revision mirrored the process of experimental refinement. B. Implement the 60-20 rule for deep work. Your most valuable output comes from focused, deep work, tasks that require significant cognitive effort, like writing, coding, or data analysis. Structure your day to protect this time. During the development of my hysteresis model using MATLAB, I found that the most insightful breakthroughs occurred during uninterrupted morning sessions. I dedicated the first 90 minutes of my day solely to core modeling or analytical work. No emails, no interruptions. This focus often yielded results that days of distracted work could not achieve. Later in the day, I reserved short blocks for administrative duties, organizing measurement data, responding to correspondence, or planning experiments. Separating these cognitive modes preserved both productivity and mental clarity. Number 3. Schedule time for thinking days. Performance isn't just about doing, it's about deliberate reflection. Each month, I reserved what I called a conceptual integration day, a period to step back and examine how all the results connected to the larger physical framework. For example, when analyzing magnetization data from grain-oriented electrical steels, GOWES, I noticed unexpected phase shifts at high frequencies. By dedicating quiet time to reflection rather than continuous data processing, I realized that an additional force might be acting in the system, an insight that led me to hypothesize and later model a previously unrecognized mechanism. These thinking days were not breaks from work, they were investments in insight. Number 2. Cultivating a growth mindset, resilience, and learning. The path to a doctorate is paved with rejection, failed experiments, and critical feedback. The optimal performer doesn't avoid failure, they learn from it. Throughout my academic journey, from challenging IEEE standards in my first project to defending my unconventional hysteresis model, I learned that setbacks are often the price of genuine discovery. A. Reframe failure as data points. Adopt a scientific perspective on setbacks. When my early frequency response analysis simulations failed to match experimental data, I initially saw them as discouraging. Over time, I learned to view these mismatches as data points revealing the limitations of conventional models. They prompted me to question established theories and ultimately led to my derivation of a new transfer function and an authentic equivalent circuit model that explained the data more accurately than existing IEEE models. Each failed attempt was not a dead end, but a diagnostic test of my understanding, a critical stepping stone towards new knowledge. B. See feedback as a gift, not an attack. Critical feedback can feel harsh, but it's often the refining fire that turns good work into excellent research. I experienced this vividly when my supervisor initially opposed publishing my first theoretical paper, arguing that it challenged accepted doctrine. Instead of reacting defensively, I examined every criticism carefully, reformulated my arguments, and strengthened the mathematical foundation of my derivation. The paper was later accepted by a prestigious journal, vindicating not just the theory, but also the mindset that constructive criticism is an ally of truth. C. Embrace intellectual humility. During my second project, I often relied on engineers at NPL to help me configure complex magnetic measurement equipment. Although I had strong theoretical understanding, their practical experience and insightful understanding were invaluable. Accepting that I didn't have all the answers allowed me to learn more efficiently and to produce results that blended theory and experiment seamlessly. True mastery in research begins with acknowledging the limits of your knowledge and collaborating across disciplines to overcome them. Number 3. Prioritizing sustainable well-being, the non-negotiable foundation. You cannot achieve optimal academic performance without optimal personal health and well-being. A sustainable pace is key to preventing burnout, which is the nemesis of long-term success. Having endured years of intense research pressure and institutional challenges, I learned sometimes the hard way that well-being is not optional, it's foundational. A. Define and enforce off-limits time. During the writing phase of my thesis, I established a strict evening shutdown ritual. After 8 p.m., no work, no coding, no drafting. I used that time to rest, read literature outside my field, or simply enjoy quiet reflection. Protecting these boundaries allowed me to return each morning with clarity and renewed energy. Even when facing administrative or legal stress after my PhD, maintaining structured downtime helped me preserve emotional stability and long-term focus. B. Prioritize the big 3 essentials. Sleep, nutrition, and movement are the invisible engines of intellectual performance. I discovered that sleep deprivation, especially after late-night data processing, drastically reduced the precision of my analytical reasoning the next day. Once I prioritized consistent rest and daily exercise, sometimes just a short walk between writing sessions, my problem-solving ability improved significantly. No algorithm or model will compensate for a fatigued brain. C. Cultivate non-academic identity. Your PhD is what you do, not who you are. After my research concluded, I began writing a treatise summarizing my scientific journey, not as an academic report, but as a personal reflection on discovery, resilience, and intellectual freedom. This project rekindled my passion for learning and helped me detach my identity from institutional recognition. Cultivating interests beyond research, writing, mentoring, or creative exploration builds the emotional resilience needed to sustain long-term intellectual work. Conclusion: a PhD journey is a microcosm of life itself, demanding, uncertain, and deeply transformative. True high performance is not defined by how much one endures, but how effectively one balances strategy, mindset, and sustainability. My own path, from experimental setbacks to theoretical breakthroughs, taught me that progress is rarely linear, but always instructive. When you align strategic planning with resilience and well-being, you don't merely survive the PhD, you emerge from it transformed, capable of independent thought, creative problem-solving, and sustained intellectual vitality. I am eager to benchmark my progress against the wider UK doctoral community. To that end, I am issuing a formal challenge to all UK-based PhD students across any research discipline. I will award £1,000 to any student who can demonstrate the publication of 3 peer-reviewed journal articles derived directly from their first-year annual report. This offer constitutes a legally binding unilateral contract under UK law. Should you meet or exceed this performance benchmark, I am committed to transferring the funds to your account.